I figured out like the verbiage we were using was completely off. Like I was just talking to someone as I would if I was in the military, and just people just didn't relate to that. They just didn't get it. And Logic kind of rewrote that verbiage for us, and people just seem more energized to come in the door.
Welcome to Barbell Business. I'm Mike Bledsoe, and we have traveled far south, 15 minutes to KDA CrossFit to hang out with Ryan Buccinetti.
Bucciantini.
Damn it, I knew it. I knew I was going to screw it up.
Buccinkowski? He's been practicing all week, and he just blew it. Camera goes on, it's out.
We only had like a 5-minute conversation about this. But it was 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, that was a while back.
That was 20 minutes ago. There's a lot.
That was in the past.
A lot of things have changed in there since then.
Dude, many things have changed since then.
It's been a long road.
Yeah, we're down here because Ryan has a pretty cool story, and you have a deep background in everything CrossFit. You're in the U.S. Coast Guard.
That's right.
This is not uncommon of a CrossFit gym owner to have a military background and own a CrossFit gym. And I'm interested to have this conversation because people will be able to identify with you, I think, and I see like similar things with similar types of people.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, there's like maybe a few different segments in CrossFit. You know, this type of gym owner. This, you know, there's 3, 4, 5. Markus could probably speak to this a lot more. I think early on there was probably a fewer different styles, but one style is military background, discovers CrossFit, opens a gym. This is the way potentially to run the facility while still in the military, with the hopes of being able to leave and have something to move to.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate?
100%. I got started with the Coast Guard about 13 years ago, and been going strong ever since. I opened my affiliate 2.5 years ago with the hopes of leaving the military, and slowly starting to make that transition. First couple years, definitely underestimated what it takes to run a successful affiliate. I was definitely more prioritizing the military aspect of everything, and taking some time reevaluating what we're doing here and really trying to figure out what I want out of the affiliate has really changed my direction with the military. I just think the time has come that the time has really come for me to just reevaluate and take my next step and push the affiliate forward. Like the military has been great over the years. Like it taught me a lot leadership wise. It taught me how to organize. The only thing it didn't let me do is be creative. And that showed in the gym. People were showing up. We were 100%, 100 miles an hour in the first couple months. And then after that, things just got really stagnant.
Yeah.
And people came, you know, we had a pretty minimal membership base. We were working around like 40, 50 members. They were having an okay time, but we could really see it in their faces that they would just show up, do the workout, leave. There was no sort of outside interaction with everything.
Yeah, one of the things I'm kind of hearing now and things I think about is a lot of the military background when coming into a CrossFit gym is highly beneficial. In the beginning, there's a lot of benefits from having that background, more structure, knowing how to create standard operating procedures. There's a lot of things, if you can take aspects of what you learned there and bring it in, it can be highly beneficial. And then at a certain point, it'll stop serving you as a business person.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Mike was saying, like the SOPs were good. Like I had a basic idea of how I wanted to run things, but it wasn't fun. There was no sort of enjoyment for people. Like you can write down what you want to do from an SOP standpoint, like you want the classes to run 60 minutes, you want A, B, and C to happen, but that doesn't translate into the athlete. Like the athlete experience is ultimately everything. And we were doing that. Like we were good. We were running like on time. We were doing our thing, running our classes however we wanted to run the classes. But that's not how the athlete really wanted the class to go. And we started to see that. People were just unhappy.
How long you've been running the gym for? How long?
2.5 years now.
2.5 years. Yeah. And how long ago? So you said you became a little bit stagnant, and then you have made some changes. How long were you in that stagnant period? Would you say that existed?
We had a pretty good showing from year, I would say like the first like 9 months or so, and then after that, things just like the door shut. Things shut down. Yeah. And like we had our loyalists, like the people that really got what we were trying to do, and I mean they enjoyed it, but we couldn't get anybody in the door. Like the way we were getting our leads, we were like, we're just going to do it organically, and we're going to let people try to bring in other people for us. And that just didn't work. Like that died.
Well, it works up to a point.
So fast.
Yeah.
So fast. I mean, just in the Miramar area, there was at least 5 CrossFit gyms within like a 3-mile radius or something. Yeah. So other people were doing it way better than we were. And I mean, luckily we were at a sustainable point, but we were in no sort of growth point. Like it was not viable to continue the way we were going.
How long was it stagnant before you decided to make a change?
Good 8 months.
So you're sitting in 8 months. It feels stagnant. Were you experiencing confusion? What were you experiencing during that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty.
Did you know it was stagnant, or was it one of those things?
I mean,
or was there a moment where you go, oh, you know what? The last 8 months have been kind of like the same.
Yeah, I mean, as a business, like, I definitely was not being truthful with myself. I was like, no, things are good. Like, I didn't really listen to myself, or I didn't know really how to listen to myself. I was just like, I'm doing my thing. I'm happy. I own an affiliate. But after that, like, I kind of just stood in here one day and looked around, and I was like, dude, we haven't seen anybody new for a while. And that's when we were like, all right, we need to relook at our process, find something new. What can we do to get people in the door? And that was like that was a big changing point for me. But even after that, we were like, all right, we've like figured that out. We haven't gotten anybody new. Now what do we do?
But you had that moment where you could be honest with yourself.
Yeah,
you think
for sure.
you were being like kind of hiding things from yourself?
I was 100% hiding from myself. Like, I mean, it's fearful. Who wants to like? I'm like, all right, I'm successful in the military. I should be successful at owning my own business. Like, how hard can that be, you know? And so I hid from myself. And once I started to realize that, like, I have to be happy with where I'm at, then things will change. But until I realized that, nothing changed. I mean, we basically flatlined.
So you're standing in the box. You're looking around. It feels stagnant. You have a truth moment where you go, okay, this is actually where we are, and this is not where I want to be right now. So I need to make a change. So what did you do when you had that realization?
I started reaching out. I started looking for mentors, and I asked around everywhere. People that I thought were successful, people that like I look at them and I'm like, you have a pretty successful affiliate. I'm going to reach out to you. And I was pretty surprised on the lack of feedback I got from some people. And I just realized I was looking for the wrong type of mentor. They were running affiliates that were successful, but not the vibe that I really wanted. So I had a hard time identifying with them. And I just kept looking around and tried to find a like-minded person. I found that person, and that's when things really started taking that next step forward. And it's just been a progression. And since I did that, I just keep trying to find that next level of personal and professional development. Whether it be a mentor, whether it's reading, whatever I can do, just continuing knowledge, and that's been a huge step forward.
I think it's interesting. Athletes do the same thing where they see another athlete being successful, so they just copy what that program is. It's like, oh, you know, Rich Froning is so good at his thing. I'll just do his workouts and I'll be like him. And for some reason, no one can beat him even if they do his workouts. Mm-hmm. And the same thing happens in the gym business. It's like, oh, if I just run my business the way they're doing it, and you only see what's on the surface anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, what they're experiencing behind the scenes may not be what you want to experience behind the scenes and all that. But it sounds like you found somebody who was really beneficial. Was it somebody who is like the next level up from where you were at, or like how did you find that mentor or that What was that like?
Well, I
Because
mean,
I think a lot of people, that's like even I have, like that's always kind of running in my mind is I'm always looking for the next person and who can I learn from.
yeah, I mean, I lucked out and I ended up finding a group of people that I knew were a level up from me. And I was like, you have to push yourself into this group, whether it's awkward or not. Like, you have to figure out a way to get yourself in front of them and just ask for help. At the end of the day, just going out and asking for help and figuring out that actually most people really do want to help you. They don't want to see you sit back and fail.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was the biggest thing. And I found that group of people. And, I mean, here we are now.
Yeah.
You know? And
the simple thing about just asking for help.
yeah,
Like just showing up and talking to someone who can be helpful and just go, hey, I have questions.
yeah, I mean, it's just basic communication, like literally just stepping out of your box and realizing that you have an issue and being like, hey, I need some help. What have you done in the past? Maybe that'll help.
I feel like it's a double-edged sword, not realizing how difficult it's going to be to run a company. Like earlier, you said, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like I'm successful in the military, so how hard can running a company be? And you didn't know how much was really going to be going into it. So that's a good thing in the sense that you don't know how hard it's going to be, and so it's easier just to be like, oh yeah, I'll go do that.
Yeah.
No big deal. And then as you get more and more into it, you realize the rabbit hole keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you keep realizing that you need to know more and do more than you thought you were going to have to do in the first place. But at the same time, if you have that mental model of this is going to be pretty easy, then convincing yourself that's a good idea to reach out for help becomes harder to do because this was supposed to be easy, and now I need help doing something that's easy. And so, like, for me, if it was me, I feel like I would have resistance getting help because I couldn't even do this thing that I thought was going to be easy, and now I'm, like, embarrassed. Was that accurate at all?
100%. When I walked in, when I was like, I'm going to make this happen, I was like, all right, I'm hopping on LegalZoom. We're going to get the LLC. And we're going to find a space, and we're going to make it happen. Everything else is going to fall into place after that. Like, it's going to be easy. No big deal. Like, we got a rig. We got some barbells.
That's
How
what I
hard
thought
can
in the
it be?
beginning, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
To
then
be fair, it did fall into place. It just wasn't easy.
Yeah, very true. Very
Just
true.
not how you thought.
Yeah.
Just not
But
how you
there's,
thought.
if you can forego the
The
2 year stagnation,
The path's not in a straight line.
no, definitely not.
It's a
Definitely not.
maze. And you're blindfolded.
Yeah.
A maze is accurate, yeah.
So you walked in that morning. This is when you came to the first breakfast, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about us.
Yeah.
Oh.
He
We are?
came and Ryan showed up to our weekly entrepreneurial breakfast.
Don't tell people about that breakfast.
I'm not going to tell them where it is.
The restaurant can't handle any more
Quiet.
people. It's just
we had a
packed.
blowout this morning. That
Yeah,
was like
that's huge.
took over
Big.
half the place.
Yeah, if you've been listening to Barbell Business very long, we've made the suggestion of what Doug and I have always done is Friday mornings, wherever we're happening to be, we try to organize an entrepreneurial breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We've
That's
been doing
it.
it for like 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
Long time.
every Friday that we're in town.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry, Marcus.
You should do it too.
Yeah,
it's
just-
free
I'm-
and it's really fun.
Yes.
highly recommend
Highly
it.
recommend it.
It's as hard as creating a Facebook group.
That's it. So we meet over breakfast, right? You came, you hung out, you kind of started to tell your story a little bit. What was your first impression when you first kind of came around? What happened for you?
I mean, that was really the time when I figured out that, like, these people genuinely want to help. Like, you know, I mean, it's a lot of networking. You get to meet a lot of people outside of the fitness industry. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be just fitness-oriented people. And that's where I really had a big shift. I met some people that helped me really open up personally. And from there, that's when I just started to flourish. Like, I got to connect with them. They helped me unglue some limiting thoughts. And once that happened, that's when we really started heading off to the races, and then started working with the rest of the, like, Barbell Logic crew. We that's when things doubled. Like, there was no coming back from that.
If you don't mind sharing, what were some of those limiting beliefs that you just mentioned?
I mean, just from an early age, I
We're going to get real personal
yeah.
now.
So just thinking that I wasn't good enough, like, and it's weird saying that, like, being successful, whether it was in the military or thinking that I was going to be successful running the affiliate, and then just, like, laying in bed and being like, dude, you're not good enough to do this. Like, why are people going to want to listen to you? Like, what knowledge do you have that isn't already out there? Like, they can go to the person down the street and that stuff. despite like the self-positive talk that I would try to go through, really starts to weigh on you. And then
Sure.
that starts to translate into the classes, just into your overall life, whether you know it consciously or subconsciously. And
Yep.
it just started beating me down over time.
One thing I've noticed is people are that they're experiencing more on a subconscious level. The message has been running so long in the background that it's hard to even notice that that's what is, and it's what's got you to where you were at that point. You know, this feeling of always trying to be better because I'm not enough is what got me in shape. It's what got me opening the box. You know, it's what got a lot of things started, and it's what makes me work so hard now. And it's going to end up being the thing that holds you back in the long run. So it'll only get you right. It'll get you right up to where you actually want to be, but it will not let you cross the line. I promise.
Yeah. Crossing that threshold took a lot of work. Definitely took a lot of work. I definitely needed some people to kind of just break me down, like just pull the layers off and really figure out what that root problem was. But once you find that root problem, the growth is exponential after that. You're just opening up all sorts of doors.
So we talked about this recently. So one of the things I do when we put together groups, we try to not make it all fitness.
Yeah.
Because if you're only talking to other people in the fitness industry, it's just going to become incestuous, and everyone's going to just be copying everybody else, and no innovation and creativity can flourish there. And so one of the things that we have at our breakfast is a lot of people who are in the life coaching space, and it's I think a lot of people kind of like life coaches. You know, it doesn't. You know, it might
I was
not
the same
like.
way.
Yeah, like you won't jive with it potentially, but if you, I think in order to reach a certain level, you have to get over that and go. You know what? The Tony Robbins stuff is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you were working, and that's who you were working with. You got outside of the industry.
Yes.
And you were working with somebody who's a life coach, and I bring that up because I got an email recently from we went over, it was 2 episodes ago, 2 or 3 episodes ago. We I don't know if you listened to that
Yeah,
show.
no, I heard it.
Yeah, we went over the email, and one of the suggestions I had was hire a business/life coach to get in and basically in integrity to become congruent with being able to ask other people to pay you money to coach them. And so I think that's, again, I just want to highlight that the life coaching thing, I think it can be the linchpin.
It's huge.
And moving
It's
things
huge.
forward.
It's so easy to kind of just dismiss it and be like, oh, I don't need that. Da, da, da. And I mean, the military really primed me to do that. They were like, you need to be self-sufficient. You need to do it yourself. Like,
Right. It's the opposite message almost.
oh, it's 100%. And just being that open with yourself is not something I feel like they really conditioned me to do. So when I really let myself do that and start to unpeel some of those layers, things got so much better. I mean, just the amount of stress that comes off of you when you can just acknowledge that you need some help is huge. And then things kind of fall into place.
So when you say things got so much better, what do you mean? What changed? Like,
I was happier. I was 100% happier. Like, I went through that. I mean, I was stressing every day, trying to figure out like what things we could implement. And then I went through my sessions with my life coach, and after that, like, you let go of so many limiting beliefs, and after that, you're like, dude, there's nothing I can't handle. And your ability to almost reframe situations that you encounter is really going to change the way you operate. You know?
So I'll make some assumptions here. It sounds like you realized that being happy was a choice.
Yeah,
There was no
definitely.
There was nowhere to be there weren't conditions to your happiness, and you immediately started choosing to be happy versus saying, "I'll be happy when or if," right?
Yeah.
And then from that place, it became easier to take action.
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard to take action when you're in a place when you're not happy.
definitely. I found myself setting benchmarks for everything where I'd be like, I'll be happy when I have, 150 members. Well, that's going to take some time. So now you're telling yourself that you're just going to be miserable until you get to 150 members. Like, that's not going to translate for however long it takes you to get there.
It's not going to help you get there either.
No, exactly. So
I'm going to go join the gym where the guy's miserable because he doesn't have enough members.
Yeah, seriously.
Sounds like a good time.
And that, I mean, but that's the way it was. Like, people may not have seen it, but that was definitely the vibe I was starting to give off. And, like, my
people don't see it consciously. It's a subconscious thing they see.
Yeah. I mean, your closest friends, like, they may see it. Like, they'll have a good idea of how you operate. But once they see that shift in you, then you start to really realize, like, how much better things are going when you can let go of those beliefs.
Yeah. What were some of the first actions you took?
I've really just, I mean, stupid little things like just playing games in the beginning of class, like just getting people moving, just to like get people excited to be here. We started setting up more social events, really just trying to get people to connect outside of fitness.
So and before you were just, it was very structured and you weren't playing, it just wasn't a time, wasn't a place to have fun? What was different?
No, I mean, subconsciously, like, you would walk in the door and it was like, boom, 4:30, class starts. And, you know, you warm up, like, just like every other class, you know, you warm up strength, Metcon, boom, recover, out the door. Like, that was it. And they're just, like, I could see, like, people weren't talking to each other. It was really turning into like a 24 style thing where people were just there. Like,
the program was different. The movements and the group
yeah.
component was there, but the attitude was the same.
Totally,
Say like a 24-hour fitness.
If people could put headphones on, I'm sure they would have put headphones on and would have just done the workout themselves. There was no cohesiveness within the unit, and that itself really weighed on me. Like, I mean, I've been to a lot of really positive gyms, and I was like, dude, this vibe is awesome. Like, how do I get that? But I wasn't in the right mindset to make that happen.
So you started stepping up, creating social events, putting games in the warm-ups.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge thing for me. Like, after, 2.5 years of doing it one way, people were like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing? We're having fun now? Like, what is that all about?
I don't like change.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little
before.
bit like that. But once we
What'd
started,
you do with Ryan?
Yeah, I definitely got some looks like that. Like, I don't know about this. Like, I'm not so sure. But then, like, once you're in it for a couple minutes, like, you really start seeing people smile. And that's, like, one thing I talk to my life coach is I really, really want to see genuine smiles on my athletes. Like, that was a huge thing for me. And once I started seeing that, it's infectious, and it just starts going from athlete to athlete to athlete. People start connecting with each other, and the entire vibe really just shifted overnight.
Nice.
It was good. Yeah.
Nice.
I remember in our first conversation, you were really in a place where you're like, I'm ready. Just tell me what to do. Like, I remember you had a conversation with AJ, I think, first, right?
Yep.
And then you and I had our first, like, long conversation about kind of where you're at, where you're trying to go. And I remember you telling me, you're like, look, like, this has to change. I'm done with what it was. I want it to be something different. Like, I'm wide open. Let's go. And those are the best opportunities for us to be able to take someone who you had the chops from the technical skills and understanding what your product is and what needed to happen day to day, and then putting things in order, getting you some structure, and then putting the fun factor into that. Your business now is, like, how much has it changed in the last, let's say, year?
Oh, it's doubled. Easily doubled. Like I said, when we were like stagnant, we were probably like 40-ish, 50-ish members, somewhere around there, and hands down, we've doubled in a relatively short period of time. Like, we went through that whole level of stagnation. We started implementing these small changes, and from there, it's just, like, we're having a hard time keeping up with it.
I want to hear about all the changes. So, games, more social functions. What else did you change?
So I sat down with all my coaches, and we kind of went through and just did a reprioritization of what we want to focus on in the classes. And we're like, all right, you know what, for this, next period of a couple months, we really want to just emphasize the athlete experience, like checking in with people when they walk in the door, when they walk out of the door. Like, how are you doing in the middle of class? Are you getting what you need? Like, this is about you guys more than about just, like, you're here to run a class, like everybody getting their full-on experience. That was huge. Just telling the coaches to check in with your athletes just every, 10, 15 minutes. Like, are you good? You good? You good? That really changed things for a lot of people. And I mean, it just shows you care, You always get the people that are afraid to ask questions, or they're like, I'm feeling a little bit uneasy about this. Checking in, you're good.
Sounds like you made one change at a time. So you met with the coaches and say, hey, we're gonna focus on this thing. And then once you kind of you felt like you got that mastered and then you added another thing, or?
I mean, that's kind of where we're at now. Like, I'm more focusing now on my development of coaches to be able to read the athletes. Like, we can all teach a movement, like we can all talk about, products or supplements or whatever it is, but really understanding your athletes and trying to see what emotion they walk in with and just trying to change that. Be like, dude, I can see it in your face. Like, you are not super happy right now. Like, what's going on? So I feel like I've almost started taking over that like life coaching goal. Whether or not I'm qualified to do it is a different story. But
I don't think there's any degree program for that. I call it psychology, but
yeah. I mean,
well, at some level, you are always that,
Yeah.
whether you knew it or not.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's coaching another human being in any category, you shouldn't just be coaching someone, in this case, on movement and on programming. Like, that's only hitting it at one level. Like, they still are coming here to make their lives better, and they're looking to you to help them be a better person. And whether you actually help them be a better person outside of fitness or not is totally up to you. But like, that was always there for the taking, and now you've kind of just accepted the fact that is something that you can do. So there's, like Mike said, there's no degree to go get. There's no qualification. You don't need to like put a label on it necessarily, but you are their coach. You don't need to say I'm their life coach or their fitness coach or whatever. Like, you're just coach. You can help them however you have the ability to help them.
Yeah, whatever their goal is. You know, like I think you're spot on. Is like when someone comes to me, it doesn't matter what it is that they need help with or whatever their goal is. It's like, all right, whatever it is that you want to do, what's the next domino we could push over? Like,
If they're coming to you for help, they're coming to you to feel better. Even if they're saying, I want to get stronger, or even if I'm saying that I want to compete in CrossFit or I want to lose body fat or whatever, they're saying I want to feel better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it's one of many things that life coaches help people do, is simply just feel better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what
Yeah, I think we hit that.
That's
nail on the head with
what
that
people
one.
are looking for. They just want to feel better.
Yeah.
It's cool that he's like, oh, we're going to focus on this one thing. You're like, well, I'm kind of still there doing that. And I think a lot of people, I think this is really great. This is really great insight, because I think a lot of times coaches want to improve their coaching game. So like, what's the next certification I can get? And you hear Greg Glassman say, you just got to care. And I think that's a very simple statement and hard to grasp. It's not. I don't think we could spend more time talking about that. Where what does care look like? And I think you demonstrated it really well in your example of how you guys do it here. And no, it's checking with the athlete, it's reading their face, it's practicing some level of empathy. Whereas I think almost, I know for me when I was younger, I almost prided myself on not giving a shit about anything that wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not doing my thing, you're a dumbass. And everybody out. Of course, there was like 5 people on board with that, and nobody else wanted to sign up. And then, being a better coach is about meeting everyone where they're at. It's like, can you read that person and empathize with them? You don't need another like fitness certification.
No, definitely not.
Most of the time, but I see people rack them up. They're like, okay, I need to grow my gym. What's the next certification I need to get? I'm like, none. Like, it's like,
really
you already have 5.
Well, it's a way to mask it, right? Because it gives you something to go do that you're going to do pretty damn well. You can go get your certification. You can say, well, I'm doing this to grow the business because I'm going to start a new Oli program.
Yeah,
so I got to go do another Oli cert. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's not what you need to be working on. And what's cool about your story is that we went from kind of like this, really common story of, like, hey, I built it, like I'm doing the job, like I don't understand why it's stagnant, to going from more that like stuck startup kind of small mindset and business style to getting everything on track, scaling everything up in the right way. Now you're in a really healthy place, both with the business and for yourself as the owner of the business. And now we're going through kind of some of those initial exercises kind of again, but on a deeper level. So now you are working with the business coach, which is a newer program that we're pushing through, where you're now basically going back and saying, okay, now that we've hit like healthy, how do we go from healthy to awesome?
Excellent.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now let's revisit and let's refine everything again and take everything up another notch. It's really cool to see the progression go here. I'm excited to see what's kind of up next for you. What's kind of on the agenda here for 2017 for you?
Yeah, my level of happiness, I feel like, played a big part into that. Like, if we were going through and rewriting everything, we would have gone through the drills, rewritten SOPs, but the outcome would have been exactly the same. So if I can give advice to anybody, it's try to change your mindset. Like, look for opportunities to really make that big shift in your mindset, and things will fall into place.
I have a fun question for you. What were the games that you guys play during your warm-ups?
It's anything. I don't know the exact names of them, but I mean, we'll just have people run around with ab mats on top of their hands, almost like they're carrying a pizza, right? And people just run around for like 3 minutes or whatever, trying to knock them off each other's hands. Or we just set cones up and let people run around, whether it's tag. Like, if it's anything like that, like, it sounds weird to say it like this, but adult play, I feel like, is really essential in everybody's life.
don't
and
get it
people
anywhere.
really underestimate that. When you can get adults to smile in a big group and not feel uncomfortable, that's a huge thing. Like, you are doing things right when that happens.
It's sad that that's not normal.
Yeah, for sure.
And we live in a society where it's not. So if you can produce that, you're amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. In high school, for one of our warm-ups, we would have everyone in the room grab one foot, and then everyone hops around, tries to knock each other over.
Yeah.
And you can't do that game and not
not
laugh the whole fucking time. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially if you're an adult and you don't do stuff like that very often. But any age, doesn't matter. High school kids, we were loving it.
I think the more we do it, we actually realize that, like, these people want to do this. They're just afraid to be like, I don't want to, like, ask to, like, do something fun or, like, something like that. They're afraid to seek it out. So if I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing today, they're like, a little iffy at first. 3, 2, 1, go happens, and they are all about it.
Yeah,
Everybody's going hard. And then class just flows easier after that.
Yeah, the play piece is something that I've been progressively learning even more.
Yeah.
It's like, we all work hard. If you're a business owner, it's like a lot of work all the time, and being able to, like, take a day off and play, like, that's part of the human experience. And I think if you're not getting that on a regular basis, you're denying yourself being a human being and living life. And I think that would actually have been hard for me to even hear years ago. And now that I've I'm at a certain level of success, I'm seeing how important that learning about that actually helped me get to where I am now. Whereas I think a lot of times people might see me playing, like, man, that guy's really just screwing off a lot. I was like, this is, like, critical to the entire picture.
Happiness, yeah.
Yeah, and the success of your business. Because, like you were saying, is like having that shift in mindset around just being happier allowed you to access all these things. And had play not really come in, it would have stayed stagnant.
Yeah, I really pushed myself, and I had a good friend that is big in improv, and he took me to an improv.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
We've
We've
been
just
been
talking about
about that forever.
Yeah.
We're all too scared to go.
That's a big threshold. Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to rally.
Nobody has said that yet, but that's probably what's going
Well,
on.
I know a great group.
Yeah, my brother just got back into it too. Funny enough, so we'll all have to go.
It will change your world.
Yeah.
If you can muster the energy and not walk in half cocked, like drinking a few beers before, and like truly make a good intention about like getting something
You're saying,
something
do you
out
drink
of this.
beers or don't drink beers?
Don't drink beers.
don't drink beers.
No,
Okay,
no, no.
That's what I thought. But
Yeah.
No, it's screw you
I want
guys.
to get that clear.
I'm drinking
Yeah.
beers.
I mean, that just changes the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you can like go in and you're like, I'm going to give this everything I got and just not care like what the person next to you may or may not be thinking,
Dude.
you're going to have a great experience.
Yeah, I
It's
think
gonna
it'd be
change.
phenomenally fun, I feel like.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I had
Okay.
my speaking mentor yesterday was telling me the same thing about go and do karaoke completely sober and go see what that's like. He's like, go get up and just start rocking it in front of everyone without having a drink. I'm like, I have literally never done that once. And he's like, exactly. You're gonna go do that. You're gonna go do comedy. You're gonna do everything, and you have to go. Not that I have sort of like a drinking problem, but that's kind of like what everyone uses. Whoa. But
Marcus, we have the same
I have
life
a
coach. He gave me
confession.
completely
No one-
different advice.
No one thought you had a drinking problem until you denied having a drinking problem.
guys, I don't have a drinking problem.
This guy's addicted to golf parade.
It's serious shit, guys. It's heavy. And basically, he's like, it is the like thing that everybody by default goes and does. They're gonna go do karaoke. They're like, I'm gonna take a couple of shots first.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
like, that's true. Every time I've ever done karaoke, we have a few drinks. Or it's like I think about going to do stand-up comedy, and they're like, oh yeah, you got to have a few drinks before you go up. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably a good idea, right? And he's like, no, go do it stone sober and see what happens. And it's for exactly that reason about that whole like not caring what other people think and being able to like get in flow in front of people while you do that. That is hard to do.
That's a big step. I say level 1 to that. If you want to take baby steps in, which I highly recommend because you're more likely to actually do it.
Mhm.
Just go to a party and don't drink. Like if you're somebody, like think about it. Like how many parties have you attended where you didn't even have one drink? I'm talking about like none. And I've suggested that to people, and they're like, oh yeah, I've gone to parties without drinking, and I'm like, all right, think about it. When was the last time? Like, you know what? Maybe never. You know, at high school or something. It's like, yeah, just try to go to a party and hold a conversation without having a drink, and that can be challenging.
Yeah.
So
I don't think
drink.
it's way easier
I don't
to go to a party sober and have good conversations.
Yeah,
I talk less when I drink.
I don't drink.
I'm
I
the
don't
opposite
drink
of a
at
lot of
parties
people.
very much anymore. Anyway, for that reason, I want to have high quality conversations.
We could just start simple and not drink before the show anymore.
You know what,
Do
guys?
this
I
sober
quit.
first.
I quit.
Yeah,
Your guys'
he's
party sucks, stand-up sucks, karaoke sucks. I can't drink before the show. What am I supposed to do with myself?
Marcus is out.
That's it.
Mhm.
Quit.
No more alcohol. I'm done.
So we met up, started hanging out a year ago. You hired some life coaches. You've changed your perspective on how you run the facility. The community aspect of the gym has really changed, and you implemented Logic as well.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, Logic. So I met with AJ, like Marcus was saying, pretty informal. This is when Logic, I think, was first kind of coming online. And I kind of told him my story, and he's like, dude, you just need to do this. Don't ask any questions. Just go out and make it happen. So I kind of just trusted the process. We signed up. I talked to Marcus. We started really digging deep into the business, and we found some huge holes, some things we just weren't doing.
Things you were completely unaware of. Like,
oh, yeah.
One of the things I find is like when Marcus starts talking to somebody and asking them questions, I think a lot of times people don't sign up for a discovery session because subconsciously they know they're going to be asked something that they don't even have the answer to.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a hard place to be. That's an ego check. Like you got to check your ego before you get on the phone, or else, you know, you just won't schedule the call.
Yeah, definitely. I know when I first opened, I was like, I just kind of want to do the fun things. Like, I want to do the things I know I'm going to be good at. And then after that phone call, I was like, dude, we're missing some serious things. And we started working through. We got our website built out. We got all the email campaigns figured out. And from that, it's been cruise control. Like, we're getting significantly more leads, and the leads aren't like, we still do get organic leads, but a lot of these people are just going to the website, and I think they realize that, hey, this looks like a better product. Like, these guys look like they have their stuff on point. So as we follow up with our athlete, it's just significantly easier. Like, it takes so much less time to coordinate and getting people inside of the gym. It's just less we have to deal with as owners, which honestly I had no clue what to do. I mean, we would get some sort of contact us, either Christina, my head coach, or I would reach out. We'd try to get people in the door, and it would just kind of fizzle after that. And just Logic, how it follows up and starts to nurture leads over time, is constantly checking in with people, has changed the game for us.
Yeah, I think in your case too, which is in my opinion probably the most common like linchpin, is the process and the offer that's even in place. It's not just necessarily like, did I follow up with the person, or did I make a phone call, or whatever it is. It's like, is that offer even the right offer for you, and what are you doing to lead into it? How are you treating people during the interaction of the offer, and then bringing people into your ecosystem? When you get those things right, you've already eliminated a lot of the blockers. And then when you take a system like Logic and now you put something in place to make sure that best case scenario happens every single time automatically, or as automatically as it should for your situation, right? Because we don't want to take human element out. We just want to leverage it into the right key spots. Now you, like you said, it's free flow. It's kind of like cruise control, because now you're like, oh, I have more people, it's higher quality, it's easier, they come in, they stick around longer, and now you can actually build something, rather than before it was like, try to get people in the front door while a few people are going out the back door, and it's kind of this like juggling act, right?
Yeah, I mean, the more I got familiar with it, I figured out like the verbiage we were using was completely off. Like, I was just talking to someone as I would if I was in the military, and just people just didn't relate to that. They just didn't get it. And Logic kind of rewrote that verbiage for us, and people just seem more energized to come in the door. Like it just sets it up for you. It sets you up for success is really just what it does. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to mention before we hop off this? Anything that is just you want to talk about? What is it that a gym owner needs to hear if they're listening to this? And I mean, I know there's box owners out there that have listened to over 100 of these maybe, and they still might be having a hard time, or maybe this is the first episode someone's listening to. Like, what do you tell somebody?
I'm going to go off on a tangent a little bit. So instead of like we talked about going certifications or whatnot, like weightlifting certifications or mobility certifications or powerlifting, anything like that, get a little bit deeper. Learn how to prioritize the movement versus these like sport specific certifications. We started doing that. We started looking more into like corrective exercises, and we started implementing all of that into our classes.
Nice.
And that's been a huge shift for a lot of our athletes. Realizing how sedentary people are, especially like around our area, we have a lot of biotech and whatnot. Spending a little bit less time doing just CrossFit specific movements and spending some time outside of the box and really trying to correct what people have going on.
Yeah.
I think it looks really good from a coaching standpoint. Like people really, really relate to that when you can take 5 minutes and be like, I see you have A going on. Let me give you B and C, and let's try to get that fixed before we kind of throw you into the fire per se. You know?
Yeah. I think athletes really appreciate that. You're like, hey, I noticed something's going on with your knee. You know, let's do a couple tests. Oh, we've done this test. We found there's a weakness and or a lack of flexibility here. Here's a couple things. And the amount of value that someone perceives in that situation is like, oh, well, it's much higher than I think someone who teaches a snatch well.
Yeah, definitely. When you can take the time and, you know, prioritize somebody's spine, prioritize somebody's joints over them just like lifting crazy amounts of weights, people are really going to appreciate that over time. So that's my plug.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right
Thanks for having me, guys.
Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us here.
Thanks,
Ron.
Right on. We'll see you soon.